it's beginning to feel like 2020 is the gift that just keeps on giving, with all the different crises and strange things happening around the world at the moment. It feels like things are happening thick and fast. And to a lot of people that I'm speaking to, and you may be one of them, is they're finding a lot of things are being shaken up in their personal lives. And sometimes they're having experiences that we just can't explain. Are you going through this? If you are, you might be going through what's known as a spiritual awakening experience. And basically finding that there's a lot of changes and a lot of things happen in your life at the moment that you can't explain, that's causing a lot of upheaval and causing issues maybe with friends and family, and maybe you're feeling isolated, or maybe you're feeling very, very strange about it. It's causing a lot of grief in your life perhaps. But what I want to do is break some of these experiences down that people have been reporting to me, and hopefully I can help you if this is what you feel you're going through. So this video, by the way, my name is Jared Walters. This is the first time I'm doing this, so please forgive my little mess ups. My name is Jared Walters. I am a spiritual development coach, medium and paranormal investigator, and this video is 5 signs you are experiencing a spiritual awakening in 2020 and what to do about it. So point number 1, now this doesn't always happen to people who go through this, okay, but it can happen at some point, so it's worth commenting on this first. Point 1 is strange and unexplained experiences. Now, a lot of these experiences will come after like a crisis or something that has upheaved your world, and this could be something like a divorce, a death of a loved one. It could be something that's happened maybe around you, a trauma that maybe possibly you've gone through, or it can happen just naturally as just a shift in your interest. You maybe start to feel someone's in the room with you when there's no one there, or you have strange insights, maybe things like prophetic dreams. You've had dreams of something that has happened, or you have dreams that seem to tell a story and continue on after each other, and that sort of thing. Or you could have very strange and psychic experiences, like seeing things like apparitions, hearing people calling your name, seeing faces in your like visions of faces as you go into sleep at night. And you can go to the other end of the spectrum, and there are people I have worked with this. Maybe it's after the UFO experience, or a very, very strange paranormal experience, a haunting in your house, for example. It could also be something very mundane, that maybe you've come across an empirical truth that has kind of altered your worldview and upset the way that you interact with the world. And that's kind of happening a lot to people at the moment as well, after we're going through the lockdown and having time to research all the different things that's happening, all the information that's out there, especially all the conflicting information that's out there, and finding it very difficult to validate what is right and what is wrong. We're kind of going through this in a sense on a global scale at the moment, so I feel that everyone will kind of exhibit a similar sort of thing. They may not interpret it as a spiritual awakening, but I think it's a jump in consciousness, in a sense, a exposure to something that's going to shake us loose maybe of old habits and start thinking of how we live our lives maybe more positively, more in line with nature, and more in line with the planet, and more in line with each other as well. And I think we're seeing this happening now, because we're also seeing a lot of strange things over the world. We're seeing things like the Pentagon releasing footage of UFOs, for example. There's a lot of people having strange dreams and psychic experiences and that sort of thing as well. So if you're having these experiences, then talk about them. There's a lot of people that have gone through this process and are going through this process, because this process essentially comes in stages, and you can go through several times where you will go through the similar sort of process that I'm describing now, where your worldview is broken down, which is what we're going to talk about in point 2, but you will start having these maybe strange and weird experiences, or crisis of faith essentially, or crisis of the spirit, crisis of consciousness in a sense. What is happening here? So basically what is happening is, and I'm going to bring this into point 2, is your worldview is changing. There is something that has happened that has sparked a change within you, and this is within the inner self, within you, within your inner world, within your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your surroundings. A lot of people, especially like indigenous cultures, shamans and that sort of thing, call it you're remembering. You're starting to remember things that happened maybe before you took this human form. That's one of the ways it's kind of traditionally explained. But what I kind of believe this is more of a, you are being exposed to things that are creating essentially paradoxes. So if A is true but conflicts with my worldview, what happens to my worldview? And the more we come across these empirical truths, or things that sort of don't add up, okay, or don't make sense to us, the more we have to adjust our worldview. And that takes time, because we start to look inwardly, because we have no stimulation from the outside world. And what happens is you might find that things like friends tend to back away, your behaviour alters, your behaviour changes, perhaps sometimes it becomes a bit more erratic, eventually it becomes a lot more positive. Maybe you became a bit more sort of, you have an idea of where you're going, and it's a sudden change. You've been on one path and then suddenly you're thinking, right, I need to change, I need to jump ship, I need to go elsewhere, I need to explore something new in my life. You suddenly care about different things that maybe you didn't care about before. New things capture your attention, and there are subtle changes in your behaviour which others around you, friends, family and that sort of thing, will pick up on. And it kind of has this weird effect where it sparks opposition within them, because they may not be ready to go through what you're going through, and they have very little frame of reference. At least you've experienced the things that you've experienced, and they haven't. So we can only interpret things in what we know and understand. So on your journey, when you're going through this kind of period of, it feels like things are breaking down, it feels like everything around you is kind of falling to dust, sometimes things do have to break down, so that we can stand back and we can look at things around us and go, okay, how do I feel about this? And we have to ask that question for ourselves, because we have to gain an understanding of our own experience in order to interpret them. But we don't have to do it alone. There are now millions, or I would say millions of people around the world who have gone through this very experience in one way, shape or form. And with social media now, we can research, we can talk to other people, and this is what I did back in 2009 when this was happening to me. We can talk to different people who are having different experiences, take, what their experiences, read about what their experiences are as well, and sort of take the bits that kind of marry up with what you've gone through. And I know this can kind of be a bit strange if you're doing this and if you've never done this before, because there's kind of a comfort in the world that we knew, and if we're going into the world that we don't know, there's that inner voice, there's that inner resistance within us, which is what we see reflected in our friends and family. But it's that inner resistance against within us, that are we talking with crackpots, or are we talking about people who are insane or mad, or just genuinely validating perhaps what feels like our own insanity, right? But just at the end of the day, you can't judge something unless you know about it, unless you've researched it, and unless you come to understand it. How can you? So explore it, but explore it within yourself and explore it within other people. And what you may find is you will get little bits of breadcrumbs that help you sort of reconstruct and put things together. And what you'll find is the worldview that you once held just kind of needs adapting a little bit. Maybe in some cases it does need changing or a dramatic overhaul, but this can be an exciting journey. There's no reason to fear this journey. What it confronts you with is yourself and your own thoughts, fears and emotions. So the next, and this is kind of the process that allows you to do this. This is strange. Point 3 is strange coincidences and synchronistic events. There is a book which I thoroughly recommend for people going through these experiences, which is presented as a narrative, and that book is called The Celestine Prophecy, and it's presented as a story with 9 chapters, and each chapter has a different insight drawn upon from different psychologists, different spiritual thinkers, different scientific thinkers from sort of around the world, and it kind of presents a story, a narrative that it puts the reader into from a first person perspective. There is a film, but the film is nowhere near as good as the book. It never is, but no, literally the film of The Celestine Prophecy is, you're doing yourself a disservice if you go for the book. It is available on Audible, and I'll put a link in the description below. It is a link on Audible for it, so you can listen to it, and I think you can get like a free trial on Audible as well. This helped me a lot when I was going through this experience, because it talked about, and the first thing it talked about is synchronistic events. How many times when I've gone on this journey, I found myself coming against a brick wall, and I end up sort of taking the dog for a walk, and I come into a conversation with a neighbour, and they suddenly have the answer to the question I've been trying to ask. Or I'll have an experience when I'm on a paranormal investigation or case, or when I'm giving a reading or talking to a client or that sort of thing, okay? And I'll find what they are going through and what I'm going through. There's a similarity to it, and I learn from that experience as well. There's I could sometimes be like in a shop and drawn to this book, and this book will just sort of almost like stand out and become larger than life. So it's like as if, wait, hello, I'm over here, well, I'm over here. See, there's my hand, the camera's in a bit of reverse. Follow these experiences, follow these intuitions, these gut feelings, because what happens is they become the basis of what helps us on this path. Follow what you feel or know to be right, and ask yourself, if you go into this, what do I know and feel to be right? I've talked a little bit about this, but point 4, you becoming a bit more withdrawn from other people, and you need to sort of step back. And like I said, if you're following your intuition, you're asking yourself this, what do I know to be right? And even if it starts with I don't know, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with I don't know. The basis of all wisdom is to understand and realise that you know nothing. So what I always advise people to do is kind of just put it out there in your thoughts. Just say, look, I'm not going to worry about it, I'm just going to let the answer find me. An old friend of mine always says, stop seeking and start finding. Know that the answer will come to you. And what you do is, and what I also tell people is, expectation creates limitation. If you expect it's going to come from that direction, and you are focusing on it coming from that direction, you are negating the possibility of the universe presenting the answer to you in all those other directions of which it could present, all those possibilities. And that's basically what's happening to us here. We are going through a period of transition. We are going through a period of the old worldview breaking down, the new view coming in. And it is a personal experience. So a lot of the time, we might find that people see this change of behaviour and step back from us. And you know, we might find that like this, we might identify certain negative people in our life that we want to cut out or take a step back away from. Or we may find, in some circumstances, unfortunately, if there is a certain worldview shared by the family, you may find yourself feeling isolated. In many ways, this can actually be a protection as well, because it allows you to go through this experience. It allows you to go through this sort of transformation, this period of becoming new you, then, I suppose. So just roll with that process. And if what I always say, and what I've always said to myself with this, is if there is genuine love in those friendships and those connections, though this process might separate me from those people temporarily, if that love is there, it will always come back to us. And if you can attempt maybe to speak with people that are close to you, if there are people who are open-minded, that are close to you, you can talk about these experiences, talk about them, but try and put them in a way that perhaps they might understand. And what you might find is they will often give you a experience they've had. May not be exactly the same, but it could be similar. It's just the fact that they interpret that experience maybe in a different way. The last one I want to talk about is emotional and physical changes which are non-medical in nature. What I mean by non-medical is, I don't mean like the onset of like sudden diseases or anything like that. If you are having medical problems, then I firmly suggest, as I would do, go to your doctor. I trust my doctor more than I trust my psychic, and I am my own psychic. So when it comes to medical stuff, I always say to trust and trust the people that are actually there to help you. You could be going through certain symptoms that happen. Some of the ones that have been reported to me have been ringing in the right ear before they go to bed at night. It sounds a bit like tinnitus, but it's not always tinnitus. A feeling of vertigo, a loss of balance, and feelings of like cold spots, cold shivers, like as if your body is kind of vibrating, or feeling like it's like your body sort of doing this, but if you're not physically moving, you just feel this kind of it feels like it's kind of like almost like a burning inside of you, okay? And that is your energy changing, that is your energy shifting. But what you'll find is these things happen temporarily. They happen for a very small time and they're gone. And what you will find, I always encourage a checkup, but if you did have a checkup, is you will probably find you were physically fine, or physically as you would have been had you not had those experiences. What I find with them is, this is where I advise people to start looking at things like meditation, looking at the things like grounding their energies. So that there's plenty of YouTube meditations, and I will put some up on this channel at some point soon, but there are plenty of good grounding meditations on YouTube. Just seek them out and try just sitting peacefully for a while. Another thing I would recommend as well is just taking the time to observe your own thoughts. Just kind of almost like sit there and almost put yourself into like a daydream. Let yourself daydream and just let your thoughts kind of tick over and see where they're leading you. See what's kind of occupying them. You can kind of watch them. Deep breathing is also good. If you find yourself in those situations, maybe if you feel a little bit of loss of balance, just like take a couple of nice deep breaths and just sort of center yourself, okay? So guys, there are 5 signs that you are going through a spiritual awakening. This is a new channel, so I am trying this for the first time. I am doing this in a kind of a one hit or a one take for the first couple of videos to see how it goes. On the other side of the screen, you will see other videos that I will be putting up once this channel gets going, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below about what you're going through. And also, if you subscribe to this channel, then if you like what I have to say, then yeah, give me a subscribe. This is a brand new channel, and I'm just seeing how it goes at the moment for my own thing, see if I can help people this way. So thank you very much for watching if you've made it all the way through. Take care of yourself.